So the game has changed for Star Wars Hot Toys with that epic, shocking, and absolutely stunning announcement last week of the Ahsoka Tano from The Mandalorian Season 2. You can go ahead and put all your bets on the table now. What could they possibly shock us with between now and May 4th? I'm going to go ahead and give you my top 10 predictions later on in this episode. We're also going to take a look at what's going on within the secondary market for Star Wars Hot Toys. There is some new movement, and how is all this affecting everything within the market for Star Wars? Let's dive into all of this right now. All right, and welcome everybody to another episode of the Market Value Chart Show right here at 6 Scale Cantina. So it's a great time to be a Star Wars fan if you collect Star Wars Hot Toys. With that stunning announcement last week of the Ahsoka Tano from The Mandalorian Season 2, are they going to go ahead and shock us again between now and May 4th? I'm going to give you my top 10 predictions a little bit later in this program. But with all this excitement right now, I'm going to go ahead and give away, with a contest I'm running right now with this video, a $25 gift certificate to Sideshow Collectibles. This is not sponsored by anybody. It's not sponsored by any store or any company. This is my own money. And all you have to do to be eligible to enter the contest is you got to subscribe to the channel. So go ahead and do that. And as many of you already always do, just comment on the video, which so many of you do. Now, you don't have to do multiple comments because they're not going to count the multiple comments like it's going to be multiple entries. The computer's only going to pick, you can comment 30 times. It's only going to pick one. So you'll be entered once, and you have to be subscribed to be entered into it. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I so very much appreciate your support, and I am so pumped right now to be a Star Wars fan and collect Star Wars Hot Toys. And really, as we're marching towards 1K subscribers, that's another reason why I am doing this. I couldn't even think that we would hit 1K subscribers this soon. Was I thinking it was possible, perhaps in a year or in a couple of years? I was certainly hoping that it would, but I've mentioned this before. The main emphasis for me doing 6 Scale Cantina is 6scalecantina.com and the market value chart. But I really enjoy making videos as well. And really, this is just for me. And I'm very gratified and very appreciative that so many of you have subscribed to the channel. So again, we're so close to 1K subs, so I'm going to give away a $25 gift certificate to Sideshow, sponsored by me, sponsored by your Cantina bartender, the Dark Jedi, Aries Tarrington, serving up all the Star Wars Hot Toys talk. And when are we going to go ahead and find out who wins? We're actually not going to draw this. The computer is going to draw it, and I'm going to show it live this coming Saturday, 6 p.m. Eastern, during the next live episode of the Market Value Chart Show. And again, all you got to do is subscribe and comment on this video. Now, it won't count if you comment on other videos or the video coming Saturday. It's only going to count on this video, but I'll draw it sometime during the show this coming Saturday, where we will have Mike from the Action Figure Cave back on the panel, and we will have Nate from Geekin' Out on the panel as well. And the extra special guest this time around will be Dante from the Man of Hot Collectibles. So you absolutely don't want to miss this coming live show. Again, this Saturday, April 24th at 6 p.m. Eastern. We're going to talk a lot about the aftermath of this Ahsoka Tano. Are we going to get another announcement this week? And if not, are we going to have some intel as to what could be announced next week, the week after that, or right on May 4th? Find out this coming Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern. So as we do with every Market Outlook edition, of the Market Value Chart Show. Let's go ahead and go to 6scalecantina.com. And in the first segment, let's see what's going on within the biggest movers section. So scrolling down, you can see on your screen, so a couple of differences here. Animated Boba Fett, we talked about him in the last episode. Again, this figure, every time that this figure sells, which is quite frankly not very often over the last several months, this figure goes for just outrageous prices. So bringing this auction back up again, back from the end of March, $710 with 25 bids, and US seller, wow, absolutely crazy. And really, when you pull up everything animated Boba Fett on eBay, it just has, quite frankly, ridiculous prices. You can see right here, close to $1,300, $900, $800, $1,000. Absolutely outrageous, crazy prices. And you have to wonder, what does this mean for the vintage color Boba Fett? Is it possible that this vintage color Boba Fett can get just as outrageous within the secondary market as the animated Boba Fett? And I say yes. Look, we've talked about it before. Everything has changed for Boba Fett because of everything that has happened on Disney Plus and him showing up on The Mandalorian Season 2 and then being in more than one episode, being in multiple episodes and having multiple different outfits, like the Tusken Raider robes there and the the worn out version of the armor and the clean version of the armor, and taking his helmet off on several occasions as well. So you do have to wonder with Boba Fett, now that the game has changed. The game has absolutely changed, which is the title of this video, in so many ways for Star Wars Hot Toys. So whereas I didn't think that this vintage color Boba Fett was going to get anywhere near to where this animated Boba Fett is, my opinion has changed, and I believe that it will not only hit the $400 tier range, I believe it'll hit the $500 tier range, eventually the $600 tier range, and maybe even beyond. We're going to have to keep an eye on it. Leia, we talked about Leia the last video. A New Hope Leia is so on fire right now, just recently breached the $500 tier range. The Leia Hoth is also on fire, and it's getting close to the mid $450 tier range. Will the Leia Hoth actually hit the $500 tier range? I think that it will. Again, I've talked about it before. If you're looking for a Leia, now is the time to pull the string on Leia figures for the original trilogy, such as what you're seeing on the screen with this Bespin Leia, or even the Endor Leia. They're both such nice, pretty, beautiful figures, and I think that at the end of the day, these figures are going to get, as I've mentioned before, right where the Hoth Leia is, and I think the Hoth Leia is going to get where the A New Hope Leia is, and I think that all of these Leias are just going to be so hard to get. So, right now, these are starting to show signs, both of these, this Bespin and this Endor Leia, of breaching the $300 tier range. If you have it budgeted for a Leia and you really want a Leia within your collection, now is the time, folks, because I believe those two, as I've mentioned before, are going to hit it. Let's move on, though. We've talked about those before. Tarkin, back in the biggest mover section. And this figure was steady. Once it broke into the $500 tier range for a little bit, low, 500, 501. Remember, when these figures, if they're averaging $501, for instance, like this Tarkin was for a while, that means it's selling in the $400 tier range, and that means that it's selling within the $500 tier range. So sometimes around 400, 425, 450, and sometimes around 500, 525, 550, $600. That's the average. And when a figure has an arrow next to it and trending up, that means more so than not, it is selling in the higher range. So for instance, this was averaging 501, and that means that it was selling in many cases mid 500s, $600, over $600, and far less low 400s, more 450, more 475, and beyond that. And that is what you're seeing with this Tarkin right now. It is by far one of the best head sculpts ever produced and released by Hot Toys for Star Wars. And we've talked about this many times in the past, and I think that the game has changed for this figure now because of this character being in 2 trailers of the Bad Batch, and they do need to market the Bad Batch in some way, shape, or form. And while they may not release that many figures or, for the Bad Batch initially, I think that they can certainly release a Rogue One version of Grand Moff Tarkin. There was they recently released a couple of figures for Rogue One Hot Toys, and this character was in Rogue One, and they did just an outstanding job with Peter Cushing in Rogue One with Grand Moff Tarkin. And I absolutely can see them releasing a Rogue One version of Grand Moff Tarkin, and somewhere within the marketing copy or details, they could say also this character is in the Bad Batch. They could even say this character is also in A New Hope. But I think that there's some savvy marketing ways here that you can go ahead and promote the Bad Batch without directly coming out with a Bad Batch figure. And we're going to get into a couple of those scenarios that I think they're going to do with the Bad Batch in my predictions, my top 10 predictions coming up later on in this episode. So do I think that you have to go ahead right now and spend $500 something on this figure within the secondary market? Look, I'll go ahead and pull up, this that we can see right here on the screen. Back from April 16th, $540 US, not including taxes, not including the $11.50 in shipping. So do I think that you have to spend this kind of money to get a Tarkin? Look, I wish I had this figure within my collection. I am not spending this kind of money on this figure. I am going to exercise some patience, which is hard. It's hard to do, but I really do see them. Not only could they come out with a Bad Batch version, they sure can. But do I think they're actually going to come out with a Rogue One version? Absolutely. He was in there more than a minute. And the Rogue One figures are doing so well within the secondary market. And again, Hot Toys has been on a trend recently of, coming out with new Rogue One figures. Why not Tarkin? Because they're seeing what it's doing within the secondary market for Star Wars Hot Toys. And this would fill the void for a lot of collectors that really want a New Hope version of Tarkin within their collection. But if they come out with a Rogue One version of this figure, you may get some collectors that have this version to also pick up the Rogue One version, especially if there's some subtle differences or accessories in some way, shape, or form. So I do think that this is possible because this figure right now is going crazy within the secondary market for sure. All right, so let's continue to go down this biggest mover section and see what else is new. So, as far as keeping track of the heavy infantry Mandalorian, this figure is, it entered the $400 tier range. Is it tracking, still trending up? And the answer is yes, it is. Quickly pulling up some recent information on the heavy infantry Mandalorian. You want to see where it is? Right now, back from April 9th, $435 with 19 bids, not including the $18 shipping and taxes. Let's pull up another one. Heavy infantry Mandalorian, a listing. Back from April 7th, $450. Listing right below it, April 6th, $450. Let's do another one. Right here. Pull it back up. $450, April 16th. Wow. Let's pull up another one. Let's keep going with this heavy infantry. Okay. This one sold for $400 on April 18th. Let's pull it up. I'm going to show you something with this one. This in particular figure sold for $400 on April 18th with a feedback of 34, which is not, in all intents and purposes, when you're buying figures of this price, is very reassuring. And with 93.1% feedback, which is also not very reassuring. And it still got 15 bids, and it still went for $400. This figure has moved up within the secondary market from the 430 or so price that it's somewhere right now at 444 or so dollars within the market value chart, which we're going to look at briefly in just a little bit. But this figure is one of those figures where a lot of people were wondering, was it going to stay steady within the $400 tier range? Well, it's not only staying steady, but it is rising. And is it possible that this heavy infantry Mandalorian will enter the $500 tier range, and even before the end of this year? And I say, yes. I believe that it will. I think this will be a highly sought after figure. And as I've mentioned before, do I think that they will reissue this figure? I think that they will reissue a different version of this figure. Just like they give you a different version of Iron Man. Just like they give you a different version of Boba Fett. I do not see them giving you a reissue of this, because Hot Toys would be, as I've mentioned before, very savvy in this regard. I'm not going to buy that. I already have this heavy infantry Mandalorian, so I'm not going to buy another one if they reissue it. But if they give it to me with a head sculpt, or they give it to me with some differences, that it's going to have some different battle damage, or perhaps some different looks about the heavy infantry Mandalorian when he shows up again in season 3, am I going to get that version, being a huge Mandalorian fan? You betcha. So not only do they get the people that missed out on this one, but you get some of the collectors that have this one to buy that one as well. And that is, I believe, the direction that Hot Toys would go, for sure. Let's go ahead and take a look at what's going on with Cody. So Cody continues to stay steady. Rising very, very, very slowly, but rising. He cracked the $400 tier range and remains in the $400 tier range and continues to sell well into the $400 tier range in a lot. And, bringing up a recent, listing for this figure. You can see right here, back on April 13th, $400. Pulling up another one. Bringing Cody up here on the screen, this other listing. This is an auction, 8 bids, back from April 10th. $400, not including shipping. Pull up another one. Commander Cody, back from April 13th. $450. Selling in the listings and selling in the auctions well into the $400 tier range. Can you imagine if this Commander Cody actually shows up in the Bad Batch? What that would do for this figure within the secondary market. I already suggested that it is possible that the Commander Cody would be a $500 tier range figure. Really, all you have to do is look at Cody and Rex and how they did with Sideshow, and you can just wonder how the Hot Toys editions would do. But can you imagine if he shows up in the Bad Batch? I think that will make it go closer to the $500 tier range, or certainly within the mid $400 tier range, at a faster rate than, maybe we all initially thought. Very, very interesting indeed. So let's continue to scroll down from there. Han Solo continues to stay hot. Is it possible that this Han will enter the $500 tier range? We'll have to keep an eye on it. How about Anakin from Revenge of the Sith? This figure recently entered. I broke the news in the last Market Outlook edition, the last Market Outlook show, and the $600 tier range. Did he go back in the $500 tier range? And the answer is no. We're going to take a look at where he is. But actually went moving up higher. And let's go ahead and pull something up on Anakin. I'm pulling up a recent auction for the regular Anakin here. You could see, back from April 12th, $630 with 22 bids. And when you look at the feedback, even though it's 100%, again, 38 is not exactly the most reassuring feedback in the world, especially when you're spending this kind of dough for a figure. And it still got 22 bids with $630. You have to wonder how much it would have gotten if it had 138 feedback or 538. This figure, do I think it's going to get into the $700 tier range? I actually do. We're certainly going to have to keep an eye on it. And for sure, let's go back to 6scalecantina.com and see what else is going on. So, right above it, we talked about Ray in the last episode. And was it a fad? No. And I mentioned it wasn't a fad then because it was showing so much data for a long time. And even pulling up recent Ray data. You know, we pulled up a lot of the data from the last time. $455, $435, $450, $475, $425, so on, so forth with Ray. Here's a Ray back from April 12th. 34 bids, $415 US, and close to $28 shipping US. So basically almost $425 in reality for this Ray. This Ray continues to just sell well into the $400 tier range. And you have to wonder, what does that mean for the Ray and Dio figure that's currently up on pre-order? And I've mentioned it before, and I'll just mention it again. If it looks like this, it means absolutely nothing. But if it looks like the secret base prototype and those videos that showcase this secret base prototype, it means that this figure, if you thought that the heavy infantry Mandalorian went on waitlists before it ever got in stock, and you're thinking that there is a formula for IG-11, that there is a recipe, that figure will also do so, and I really believe that there is a recipe formulating that the IG-11 is going to hit waitlist before it gets in stock. And before I continue here, I will tell you, it is very rare, very, very, very rare that a figure is actually going to go on waitlist before it gets in stock, folks. But the game has changed for Star Wars a little bit, and there are some peculiarities right now. And I'm telling you, they are not producing very many of these Rays at all. But if that final production photos look like this, and even if they look better than this, or if they look just like this, the way that Ray is trending, whether Ray and BB-8 is trending up, Ray Resistance Ray is trending up, Ray the Last Jedi is trending up, Kylo Ren is trending up. The Praetorian Guards are trending up. We're going to get into a little bit of that here in just a little bit. And that means that there is a demand for Ray right now. And if this Ray looks halfway decent, and they're not going to make very many of them, and you can go ahead and pick up this Ray right now for $241 that I believe it is, that is a far better price than $425 or $411 or $475 for a Last Jedi Ray, or $350 for a Ray and BB-8 2-pack. So do I think if this figure looks good that it will not make it in stock? I really, really do. I think that the formula, that the perfect storm is formulating here for this figure to do that for sure. So if you really want a Ray in your collection, and you're really trying to figure out how to save money for it, maybe consider this $241 or whatever it is Ray that's up for pre-order right now. Because I think, like as I mentioned the last time, if you're looking for a Ray, this may be the Ray to get. Let's continue to go on. Go back to 6scalecantina.com. And let's go right to Kylo from there. So you can see Kylo, new entry, in the biggest mover section. And let me tell you something about Kylo. I'm going to pull him right up, right below my picture, right below my video here. This figure has entered, just entered, the $400 tier range. And that is no surprise to me, because the Last Jedi Ray is on fire. So it makes sense that this figure is on fire with the head sculpt. So what does that mean for the rise of Skywalker, Kylo Ren? And I think it means that this figure is... Does it have the same... Is it the same perfect storm to hit waitlist just like that Ray and Dio, which I absolutely 100% believe that it will before it gets in stock? I don't think as much with this one. I do think it's possible. I do think that the recipe's there to kind of form that scenario, that this has been higher. But you know, it hasn't been as high as a Death Watch Mandalorian. You know, I don't know. Would I play around with this figure? No. And, you know, you can go ahead and pull up you know, some recent data on what's going on with The Last Jedi, Kylo Ren. So right here up on the screen, you can see here from April 3rd, 11 bids, $385, not including taxes, not including the $20 in shipping. Let's go ahead and pull up another Kylo Ren. So going back from April 12th, 27 bids, $456 US and change, not including the $28 near US shipping and taxes as well. So there is a demand for this figure. So if this figure looks halfway decent, which even in the these promo pictures, it does, and we already seen the secret base videos and pictures from there. It looks pretty good, and depending on how the final production photos come out, you're going to spend, you know, $400 something on a Last Jedi Kylo, or $251 right here up on pre-order. Now, do I think that there is a recipe where this could possibly... Do I think they're going to make a great many of these? I don't think so. I think it's possible. I think it is more possible with the Ray, though. But do I think you should play around with either one of them if you're looking for a Ray and Kylo? I know a lot of people are. For me, I don't have a Kylo in my collection. Would I love The Last Jedi Kylo Ren? I absolutely would. I just cannot find a deal on it. It's always just too high, and I'm not spending over $400 on a figure, but I'll spend $251 and I'll get this one. But do I think it's going to sit in stock for as long as Commander Cody? No, because I don't think that they're going to make as many of this as they did Commander Cody. And the way it's going, it'd be one thing if it was trending down in the secondary market, or you could pick it up all day for $250, but you can't. So the storm is there, folks. Go ahead and, you know, think that through. If you're looking for one, I think it's possible. And certainly if it's not going to sit in stock for very long. For sure. Let's go ahead and go back to 6scalecantina.com and see what else is going on. So really, to finish out this segment, what I want to do here is I want to go down, and you can see up on the screen the Death Trooper from The Mandalorian. And below it, on the very bottom right of your screen, the Incinerator Trooper from The Mandalorian. I'm going to tie in with both of those figures the Remnant Trooper, which leveled off, which is no longer in the Biggest Mover section. And what I'm going to show here is why these figures are, unless some data changes, are probably also going to get removed from here temporarily and level off as well. So let's go take a look at what's going on first with Death Trooper from The Mandalorian. So pulling that up onto the screen, you can see right here, $300. You can buy it right now. U.S. seller. Free shipping. Let's pull up another one. You can see here, well, this listing ended April 18th, $315. Let's go to another one. Death Trooper. $294. $295 basically. 8 washers. You can get this figure all day right now, folks. $290, $300. So it originally went up and shot up to $335, basically $100 over retail. And then, like the OG Mandalorian in the same type of path, kind of leveled off, and right now you can get it for around $300. Give you my thoughts on what's going on in just a minute. Let's go to Incinerator. People are asking me, Aries, what's going on with the Incinerator Trooper? Can you give us some information on the Incinerator Trooper? There's really no information to give you. But what happened was it shot up to $270, $275 from the $225 retail price, which you would expect is going to happen. It's kind of normal, especially with troopers. And, you know, you can get this all day long for $270, $275. You see right here, $285 with somebody with really high, good feedback. Let's go to Remnant. Remnant Trooper, which was kind of competing there with Solo Maul and with the vintage color Boba Fett, and you were wondering if it was going to continue to go into the high $300 tier ranges. So let's look at some recent trends here. Just recently, April 17th, 22 bids, $316 and change, not including the $24 shipping. Let's look at another Remnant Trooper. $335, 8 bids, back on April 10th. Let's look at another Remnant Trooper. $330, back from April 10th. So what I think is going on with these troopers is, I brought this up before in many early videos when I first started coming on here about 2.5 months ago. Not every figure that hits waitlist for Star Wars from Hot Toys is going to enter the $400 tier range, let alone the $300 tier range. Quite frankly, you got some beautiful figures, such as this Bespin Leia, which is still just now starting to show signs that it will breach the $300 tier range. And the same thing with that Endor Leia. So not every figure for Star Wars, just, oh, it's going to automatically, it's a $400 figure. No, it's not. It's not for this Bespin Leia. It's not for the Endor Leia. It's not for the Incinerator Trooper. It's not for the Death Trooper. It's not necessarily for every figure. Some figures are hotter than others, and some figures have the perfect storm blending, such as that Commander Cody has as kind of a recipe right now where that figure entered the $400 tier range. When that first went on waitlist, I was telling you that it would hit the $400 tier range. I just didn't think it would be this early in this year. And you know, sometimes with certain characters and certain storms, that's what happens. But it doesn't happen with every figure. It doesn't just automatically go to $400. It just does not happen. And you're seeing that here. You know, markets have ebbs and flows, and markets have tiers and waves as it is. And certain figures are going to reign more supreme than others at certain points. It doesn't mean that one figure is necessarily better than the other. It just depends all on content and demand and character demand at that point, which will dictate the price and some other mitigating factors as well. Do I think now? Now for the Death Troopers, you know, what I think is going to happen there is the Rogue One Death Troopers all started trending up high in the $400 tier range. So do I think that this Mandalorian Death Trooper is going to hit the $400 tier range at the end of the day? I absolutely do. Do I think that the Remnant Trooper is going to hit the $400 tier range? Possibly. I think like many other troopers, it could, or it can be in the mid $300 tier range, sometimes high. I could see that going there. Same thing with the Incinerator Trooper. I could see it mid, you know, there as well. But you know, at the end of the day, not like I said, not every figure is going to hit the $400 tier range. We're just going to have to keep an eye on it. All right, let's scroll down. So last figure I want to talk about here, Rogue One Darth Vader. Not a surprise to me. You have the actually, I was surprised that it took this long to trend down, because you got that Empire Strikes Back Darth Vader. That is a little surprising. That's still on, you know, that's still in stock at Sideshow. But I'm telling you that any day that is going to disappear. But right now, since you can get that for $285, people are just not spending $400 and over $400, which typically, you know, this was sitting at. So it dipped under that $400 tier range, and it's just like $360, $365 or something like that. We're going to look in a minute within the market value chart, but it's temporary. Just like the first issue of the Empire Strikes Back Darth Vader is also dipped down. It just dipped down sooner than this one. But as soon as that Empire Strikes Back Darth Vader hits waitlist, this Rogue One Vader will go right back over to $400 tier range, and very shortly after that, all the Empire Strikes Back Darth Vaders will be going over that as well. It's going to follow the same path as the Attack of the Clones Yoda, for sure. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to the second segment of this show. And let's go to the market value chart. Remember, whenever you go to the market value chart, always hit that arrow within the current value column a couple times so you get the highest ranked figures to the lowest ranked figures. That way, it is easier to navigate. So, let's just take a look at some of these here. So, a Dark Side Anakin, 706 and trending up. Is it possible that this Dark Side Anakin will hit the $800 tier range? Are you kidding me? The way this is going, we should be talking about if it's going to hit the $900 tier range. It's absolutely crazy. Animated Boba Fett, $660 and rising. K2SO. So K2SO, bringing that on the scene, on the screen. This should be a really good indication of, where IG-11 is going to go. With IG-11, that figure, I absolutely believe that there is a perfect storm, that there is a perfect recipe right now for that IG-11 to absolutely hit waitlist before it ever gets into stock. So, and I think that, they're not going to make very many of that IG-11, and they didn't make very many of this K2SO, and they're both droids. And you can see this right here, $623 and climbing. And if you want that IG-11 and you've been sleeping on it, I would get it. I think that it will actually hit waitlist before it ever gets in stock. Anakin, Revenge of the Sith, 615 and rising. So low 600s, now it's rose up to 615. How high can it go? We'll have to see. Let's continue. Gen Urso, 567 and rising. Wow, will this figure enter the $600 tier range? Or this Obi-Wan Deluxe? Will that hit the $600 tier range? Look at this Death Trooper Specialist. We're just talking about the Death Trooper. Death Trooper Specialist Deluxe. MMS $399, $550 and rising. Don't worry about the Mandalorian Death Trooper. It's gonna get up there. It's just gonna run its time. Grand Moff Tarkin, $522. That's where he is. So it's like 501, 502, and now 522. So keep our fingers crossed. Fingers crossed that we get a Grand Moff Tarkin. I'd love a Rogue One version. Obi-Wan A New Hope, again, that just recently cracked the $500 tier range, $505 and steady. And right below it, Leia A New Hope. Man, these OT figures, $501 and climbing. The Darth Maul with Speeder, DX-17, just entered the $500 tier range and climbing. Look below that, the Praetorian Guard Heavy Blade, $499, basically a buck away from entering the $500 tier range. Not surprising with the way the Last Jedi Ray and Kylo are going right now. Han Solo A New Hope, $488 and rising. Will that enter the $500 tier range? Continuing to go down, Chirrut, $473. Death Trooper Specialist, MMS $385, $455 and rising up. Death Trooper, MMS $398, $450 and rising. Wow. Heavy Infantry Mandalorian. I told you, right around $444 and rising. And I believe that this figure, it's, is going to hit the $500 tier range very soon. Director Krennic on the move, $442 and rising. What is the ceiling for Director Krennic? I'll have to keep an eye on it. You can see here this other Praetorian Guard, the double blade one, MMS 454, $433 and rising. Gonna have to keep an eye on that. Leia ESB Hoth continues to go up, $428. Ray Jedi Training. There's the Ray, the Last Jedi one, $411 now and rising. Wow. Commander Cody, $401. It broke the $400 tier range, $401 right now and rising. And right below him, you see that Kylo Ren, the Last Jedi, $401. This figure again has breached the $400 tier range. And last couple of ones, or the last one I really want to speak to here. Well, you see the vintage color Boba Fett, this going back up to that, $376 and rising. Wow. Wow. Is scrolling down over here. Let's see. Well, Ray and BB-8, 320. Yes, this Loot Crate. Loot Crate just entered the $300 tier range. $306 and rising. Again, another Last Jedi figure. And this is the one where he had the lightsaber and he had that whole scene where he was fooling around with Kylo Ren there. And I have this figure. It's a great figure. What is the ceiling for this figure? I'm not sure. Look for an upcoming video soon where I talk about the Last Jedi Leia figure and this Loot Crate figure and Luke figures and The Force Awakens Han Solo. You know, there's a rumor going around, that Disney may, find some old footage of having those, three together. And if that's possible, I think that would actually elevate these figures within the secondary market. And there's not a whole lot of talk about that right now. And I'm going to go ahead and bring that up in a coming video and talk that through. Very interesting with those figures. I think there is some potential there for those figures to come up. And I don't necessarily believe that there is a potential for a reissue. So I think it can be very interesting for those figures for sure. So with that, let us go ahead and go to the third segment of this episode. We will keep trucking along and let us go to Sideshow. So as we do with every Market Outlook edition of the Market Value Chart Show, we go to Sideshow and the figures are sorted out just Hot Toys and just Star Wars. So just Star Wars Hot Toys. But we sort them out best-selling wise. And let's see what we got here as I scroll this up onto the screen. Wow. So we have a new number one, as you can see on the screen. And really, was there any doubt that this deluxe Ahsoka was going to be the number one selling Star Wars figure, best-selling wise, pre-order or in stock? And when you sort this out, everything Hot Toys, whether it's Marvel or DC, is this the number one figure? It absolutely is right now, and that is no shock at all. And I think Hot Toys knew that this was going to sell this way, and that is why Hot Toys released this figure, and that is why they are going to release more Mandalorian figures, because Hot Toys right now can capitalize on what is hot, no pun intended, and what is hot right now for Star Wars is what you're seeing on the screen, The Mandalorian and the Clone Wars and everything around the Clone Wars prequels timeline and everything within The Mandalorian and upcoming Disney content is where the beef, where the money is for Star Wars right now. So where it seemed like it was impossible, where it seemed like it was improbable, there's no way they're going to give us this Ahsoka. We're going to wait for the Ahsoka series. Well, they are going to wait for the Ahsoka series to give you another Ahsoka figure. You know what? They might even give you they can give you a Rebels version of Ahsoka even before then. They can give you many versions of figures that they know people are going to jump on when they get released. And right now, as you can see, people are jumping, collectors are jumping on this particular figure. I am still on cloud 9 and still my mind is still boggled that this came out. I know that I called it, but wow, I mean, again, you could put all your you could start betting now with this, because who knows, the door is open now for them to come out and ride this wave, which I think that they are going to do. So let's go ahead and look at a couple of things here with this Ahsoka figure. So pulling this up on the screen, is it possible that this Ahsoka Tano and Grogu figure at $315, is it possible that this figure will hit waitlist before it gets in stock? And I say absolutely no. No way at all. Look, this is an awesome release, and I can't wait to get this figure. My goodness. But this figure, this is the same price as the Beskar deluxe of Mandalorian right now, this $315. And they're making so many of those figures, and they're going to come in stock. And they're going to make so many of this figure, and this figure is going to come in stock. And there's not really a recipe here or any rhyme or reason why this would happen. Now, you do get this wonderful Grogu. I mean, this Ahsoka that comes with this Grogu. I am over the moon about this Grogu because unlike the two Grogus that come with the Beskar Mandalorian Deluxe, it has articulations in the hand joint, 360 or whatever, this turning thing here anyway, and in the arms, and that is fabulous. And of course, you got the articulation in the head, and I think that's great. So I mean, with this deluxe version, you know, to get that. But this is really still, even though it's a 1/6 figure, it's more of a accessory piece. It's not really a full 1/6 figure, in and of itself that you would buy, and also the price. So there's no way. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because, you can't, compare it, to this figure I'm pulling up on the screen. This deluxe version of Boba Fett at $495. Is it possible that this figure will hit waitlist before it ever gets in stock? And I say yes. And the reason being is the only way you can get this Tamora Morrison figure is with this 2-pack. It is not being offered by itself. While the Boba Fett with the worn out armor is being offered by itself for $285. You're not able to get this deluxe, this Tamora Morrison figure with the robes, that version of Boba Fett by himself. And with a price point that's not $315, and that's not $415, and that's $495, and with a non-refundable deposit that is going to be hard to cancel. Because there's just going to be less cancellations on pre-orders, folks, because it's a $50 non-refundable deposit. There are so many peculiarities and variables with this figure, and a recipe where, and this is a $500 figure, and it's going to be very, very highly sought after. Very, very highly sought after. But because of the price, they're not going to have as many pre-orders as you may think that they will have on this deluxe versus this, regular version, which they will have way more of pre-order wise. And I can absolutely see a formula where, at the end of the day, at $500 at this price point, Sideshow are coming up with all this safety stock, thousands and thousands at $500 to sit in there. I absolutely do not see that at all. And I do not think you're ever going to get this reissue of this Tamora Morrison figure with the robes on ever again. And we're going to bring up the clean version of Boba Fett, which in just a little bit. And they're most likely not going to give you a head sculpt with that because of what you're seeing on the screen. And even if they did shock us and give us a head sculpt, it would certainly be different than what you're seeing on the screen. It will be a different one, which will have the same effect as not coming out with a head sculpt at all, because the only way you're going to get this one is with this 2-pack. So while this has the recipe to go absolutely go on waitlist before it ever gets in stock, this Ahsoka does not at all. There is no reason to worry about this in any way, shape, or form at all. But I think now the one that you do have to, the game has changed. And where the game has changed as well is with this release of this figure. Now, look, this was number one for 9-10 weeks or something crazy like that. The internet broke first with the Clone Wars Ahsoka. And they were going to make many extra batches of this to sit in stock. But now that they have released the, this Mandalorian Season 2 version of Ahsoka and Grogu, you can rest assured that they're in no way, shape, or form going to make as much safety extra pre-order stock for this figure at all. Those numbers now that we were calculating, you need to calculate it and look at it differently. They will make as many pre-orders as there are. But they're not going to make as many to sit in stock because there's going to be a lot of people that are going to get one or the other, and then you have this Ahsoka coming out, the next year. So they're not going to go make so many of this Clone Wars version of Ahsoka anymore. While there are a ton of pre-orders, and even if, thousands get canceled, there's still going to be a ton of pre-orders on this figure. I think now you shouldn't sleep on this figure. It is not a guarantee, in my view, that this is just going to sit in stock for forever and a day. Could it sit in stock less than that Commander Cody did? Could it sit in stock less now more than we think the Captain Rex is going to? And we're going to talk about that. Is it possible that this Ahsoka doesn't even make it in stock because of what is going on? I think that is highly unlikely, but there is a little bit of a recipe here. Look, when they get together in marble halls and in boardrooms or whatever it is, and they knew, they're not dumb people coming out with this Ahsoka from The Mandalorian that, there's going to be less of a demand for this at the end of the day with that coming up. They were never going to make as many of this anymore. But when they put the two in total, they make way more by coming out with two versions. So, do I think you should sleep on this figure? If you were sleeping on this figure, I actually think that you shouldn't now, because I think that this one, it has a little bit of it has some peculiarities to itself, for sure. But for me personally, I got more excited about this figure when they announced this this Ahsoka. I got more excited about the Clone Wars version because I want them both. And I could tell you, as far as from a secondary market perspective, are they going to go ahead and release this Ahsoka again? No way. And first of all, they signed Rosario Dawson not only for the Ahsoka series, but for everything Ahsoka for many years to come. Past, present, and future. So they're going to use, even though this looks, in many ways, I think with the sculptures on the head and some stuff, it kind of looks in a way maybe like a younger, or it could, look like a younger version of Rosario Dawson. If they're going to reissue this figure, it would absolutely be a younger head sculpt of Rosario Dawson, and that's what you would get. You wouldn't get this one again. So I think that this one is extra special in that regard. It'll be the first one, and I think that this will be a high riser within the secondary market, and I think that, what tier range is this going to be in? I think it's going to be in a high one. You're going to have to, keep an eye on it, for sure. So let's go ahead and go back to the best-selling wise on Sideshow. And let's go to the next figure, even though we talked about Ahsoka, we scrolled down and we talked about the Boba Fett Deluxe and the non-deluxe. So look at that. Look at Captain Rex. It was number one for a couple weeks. Of course, Ahsoka knocked him off, but number one. He's ahead of both versions of The Mandalorian. And you have to wonder, is it possible that this Captain Rex, can go on waitlist before it ever gets in stock? I do think there's some interesting things about this figure. First of all, I'm going to say this about Captain Rex. Before I ever seen that he came in the trailer for, the second trailer for the Bad Batch, I didn't think that he was going to be in stock anywhere near as long as Commander Cody was. And the way Commander Cody is performing within the secondary market, on top of that, I kind of figured, cutting down whatever, if Commander Cody was up, in stock for 3 months, this one will be in stock, just for instance, for a month and a half. But now that he's actually showed up within the Bad Batch trailer, well, you see what's happening. The final production photos didn't come out, and he went all the way up to #1 just before Ahsoka. So, the pre-orders now are going off the charts. But, are they going to fulfill the pre-orders? Absolutely. Are they just going to go ahead? It's like, oh, he's in the trailer for the Bad Batch. They don't exactly know how the Bad Batch is going to do. Are they going to go ahead and make an extra 10,000 of these to sit around like they were going to do, over Cody or whatever they're going to do? No, they're not going to do that for the Bad Batch, no matter how good it is. They can make a little more. But do I think now that you can just rest easy and yawn, oh, I'm going to get Rex, but let it just sit in stock and I'll get it in a few months? I would be careful, because I think I would be careful with this figure. I think while it's unlikely that this will hit waitlist before it gets in stock, I think it's possible. I think there is a little bit of a recipe with this one. Not much so. But do I think it's going to sit in stock long? No. I think it'll move quick. And especially if he becomes more and more prominent in the Bad Batch, it'll move quick. And it'll go on waitlist, and everyone will be like, wow, and will this figure, go to $350 the first day like Cody? This figure will probably go $400, maybe $450 the first day it hits waitlist, the way it's going right now. So, yeah, I wouldn't sleep on this figure. Again, this is an epic figure, $255. Wow. Yeah, it's sweet. It's sweet for sure. So let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and cut the third segment a little shorter than usual, and we are going to go into the special fourth segment, which are my top 10 predictions of what I think is possible for Hot Toys to shock us with once again between now and May 4th. And the first figure that I think that they will absolutely, without a doubt, shock us with, surprise us with, cause Aries here to do a stream, an impromptu stream with, is, I'm going to pull it right up on the screen. And absolutely, if you think that they came out with Ahsoka Tano from The Mandalorian Season 2 because of how much hoopla that got, do you remember how the internet broke when everyone saw Luke Skywalker show up in The Mandalorian Season 2? And you don't think Hot Toys knows that or receives that data or is involved in watching that and seeing that? This figure, this is Luke Skywalker would be a perfect May 4th. May the 4th be with you. May the Force be with you. Folks, this figure is coming. Now, I don't think it's going to come with the R2. I think it's going to come with the way that they released this Ahsoka Tano, and with the picture with the display base as well, where she's able to hold Grogu. I believe you're going to get the same Grogu, pop with a different head sculpt though, and it's going to come the same way with Luke. Absolutely, and perhaps with a backdrop, but I think that is what you're going to get. Do I think it's going to be a DX version? I think it's possible, even if they had these versions and all numbered already, or they were going to, they could always change whatever they want to. They could slap a DX on here. But just like the Clone Wars version also has a rolling eye function, and that's not a DX. I actually think what they're going to do is they're also going to make this a rolling eyes function, because I don't think they want to change the head sculpt for this Luke right now. But I think that if they give us the rolling eyes function, it'll be a lot better with that sculpt, and then obviously they'll have a different hair piece, or maybe a couple of different hair pieces with this that'll distinguish it and make it different than the prior Luke releases. But I don't think that if they give us a fabulous new head sculpt, I don't think they want to do that to the Snowspeeder pilot Luke. So I could actually see them kind of waiting, till that's done, and then giving us a new head sculpt after that. So, which means I'm kind of teasing what I think is going to happen with if they're going to release a Bespin Luke or not. But we'll see by the end of this. But I think they're going to give you. I think they're going to give you a Luke with a rolling eyes function, and I think they're going to give you a Grogu with it. Where is R2? Well, we'll see. But I don't think it's going to come with R2-D2. But let me go to the second figure. This is the number one figure that I think that they are going to come out with. And again, you have to look at these. How can they make money? This makes money for them. But not only does this make money for them because the Mandalorian is hot, it also boosts the sales of other figures. What figures, do you ask? That will absolutely boost the sales of this Dark Trooper. So they can make money in two ways with this by coming out with this Luke figure. So I think that this is a no-brainer move by Hot Toys, and this is my number one pick of what I think they're coming out with. What's my number two pick? Come on. Come on already. They absolutely are going to, I believe, officially announce this figure between now and May 4th. You've heard it here. Let's go to the next one. This one might seem like a shock. This one will absolutely, when they announce this figure, I'm going to do a stream that night. And you know what I'm talking about here. Already teased. It's time. It's time. This is the one. It's going to go with that Leia. And you know what else this does? Just like this Luke boosts the sales of this Dark Trooper, this Han will boost the sales of the forthcoming Lando, for sure. So they can boost those sales, which quite frankly, it looks like they need to, on that Lando Calrissian. That is the next pick. I think there is a very high probability that this is going to be announced between now and May 4th. Okay, let's go to the next one that I think is very, very possible. Both of these. No way, Ares. Not going to give you a Fennec. Well, they weren't going to give us this either. But this is what sells with this backdrop. And I'm telling you right now, this is what sells with that backdrop. Cardboard with a 2-pack. You don't got to worry about, no one's got to worry about the Tamora Morrison head sculpt. Because I really think they're going to give this to us in a 2-pack for $495. And that is how you're going to get this figure. Will they be available individually? I have no idea. I could see them offering the Fennec individually, and the only way you can get the clean version of that is to get the 2-pack. I could see it vice versa. Do I think it's more probable that they offer both of these figures separately? I think it's 50-50. Again, they've been on a trend with the 2-pack. Look what they did with the deluxe Boba Fett. I mean, no one was expecting this. And look what they did with the Nightmare Batman. And the Dark Suit Superman. You want the Dark Suit Superman? Go pick up the Nightmare Batman. So, is it impossible? I mean, it's quite hard to argue what's this is, as far as top 5 epic right now for Star Wars, this is in the top 5. This is an epic moment right now. Is it going to be as epic in 2 years? I don't know. Is it epic right now? Yes. This is my call. I absolutely see this coming out. And as far as either one of these coming out, I believe that they're coming out. Let's go to the next one. Whether she deserves a figure or not, I don't know. I don't know if Solo Maul, deserved the figure. I don't know if this trooper deserves a figure. I don't know. As far as, I think what Hot Toys doesn't care about deserving, I think they want money. And is this going to perform lower than the Death Watch Mandalorian? No. This is going to go higher. This is going to perform lower than the Jawa and Gonk droid, lower than the Tusken Raider. No. This is money. And this is the wave. And yeah, Hasbro just did it. And do I see Hot Toys doing it? And do I see Disney maybe talking with them and asking them to do it? I absolutely do. I'm calling this one. I believe that this is a probability. What's another one? Well, I was calling this figure, but I wasn't calling this figure until next year, until after this came out. Yeah. But all bets are off. And upon reflection on what they did with Ahsoka, do I think everybody's going to go ahead and cancel their, if they come out with this, is everybody going to go ahead and cancel their Boba Fett pre-order? Is that what's going to happen? And I will tell you that that's Boba Fett, and maybe some, but a vast majority, no. No. You know, yeah, are some going to? Sure. You know, just like some are going to go ahead now, you got to look at it different. The game has changed, like the title of this video. Are some people going to cancel this? Sure. Are some people not going to order this? Sure. Would some people cancel this or not order this? Sure. Will some people not order or cancel this? Sure. But you know what? I don't know if Cobb Vanth is going to have this armor again. He's not going to have it again. So this is the time. This is hot. I'm calling this one. I think that they, how would this do compared to the Tusken Raider? Oh, how's this going to do? Let me ask you a question. How is this going to do compared to Moff Gideon? You ask yourself that question. And then this is where the money is right now. And I'm telling you, as far as figures like General Veers, which I would love, or Admiral Piet, or this or that, right now, this is what's hot. And I think that this is a very high probability. So we'll have to see. All right, my next pick. Now is the time. Now is the time. They already teased this by coming out with the 1/4 version. I don't necessarily believe they're going to come out with this version during the Obi-Wan series. I think that there's going to be other iterations of Darth Vader that they don't want competing with this iteration of Darth Vader. They're done making all the batches of the Empire Strikes Back Darth Vader in the 40th anniversary packaging, and I think that now is the perfect time to officially announce this figure, and then they can go ahead and announce other figures during that time. I think it makes more sense for them, with the upcoming Obi-Wan series, to give us at that point a Revenge of the Sith version of Darth Vader with a Hayden Christensen head sculpt that can go along with perhaps some other Hayden Christensen figures at that time. I could see that being more of a scenario. Do I think they want to mix this in during that time? No. I believe if they're going to come out with this figure, that this is the time, and it would not shock me if this happens between now and May 4th. They've already teased this. And with everything hot for Mandalorian right now, I don't know if this makes sense. But now, how does this make sense? They already got the mold. This character was in The Mandalorian. So is this character. There's where you're going to get R2. I'm calling a droid 2-pack. Because there's going to be a lot of people that are going to want to set up that finale scene. And it's a way for Hot Toys to be able to generate more money. In a way, I could almost see them giving you R5-D4, R2-D2, and Grogu in a 2-pack. Much like they gave you BB-8 and BB-9E with that Imperial droid, or that little mouse droid. and then actually give you Luke, with maybe a different type of Grogu, or maybe not even a Grogu, maybe just Luke. And will people, buy this to be able to set up the set? Possibility. I do think they're coming out with an R2-D2. I just don't think it's going to come out in the same way that many are thinking. So that's my 10. I have an 11th because this one is going to come out. But this one encompasses many, many, many looks. So in one way, shape, or form, I would be shocked if Hot Toys doesn't officially announce one of these. It can be Fox. It can be Havoc. It can be Colt. It could be Bly. It could be Hunter. It could be Echo. It could be Greef. It can be Wolf. It can be whatever. But they're absolutely going to give us another clone between now and May 4th. You've heard it here on 6 Scale Cantina. Give the credit to Aries. If I'm wrong, I'll eat it. But I feel strong that we are getting another clone. So I have to go ahead and put that in. So with that, that will bring to a conclusion this episode of the Market Value Chart Show. Thank you so much for your support. Please go ahead and hit that like button if you enjoyed the content. And please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I so very much appreciate your support. Again, I'm running a contest here for one lucky winner for a $25 gift certificate to Sideshow Collectibles. And all you have to do is be subscribed to 6 Scale Cantina channel here. And as many of you do already, just comment on the video. You don't need extra comments because they're not going to count as extra entries. So just, enter your comment as usual. Some of you do multiple comments. That's fine. But it's only going to count as one entry. But not only comment, but you have to be subscribed. And, how do we know who wins and who is the one person who's going to win? I'm going to find out the same time you do. The same time you do. When? During the next live episode, which is this coming Saturday, April 24th at 6 p.m. Eastern. Sometime during that show, we are going to go ahead and run the raffle for one lucky winner right then during the show. Again, the comments only from this video, and it only counts, one comment counts, and you must be subscribed. And you definitely don't want to miss this upcoming live show. With everything going on with Star Wars Hot Toys right now, we're going to have so much to discuss. We're going to have a full panel. Again, Mike from the Action Figure Cave, Nate from Geekin' Out, Dante from the Man of Hot Collectibles, a full panel. We're going to talk about everything leading up to May 4th for Star Wars Hot Toys. What maybe is going to come out this week that we're going to discuss. What rumors and intel are we getting of what could possibly be coming out or what we can be shocked with. Again, looking forward to running that contest live and hanging out with all of you there later this Saturday for sure. Please go ahead and join our Facebook group. That group is booming, and it's a great place where we talk a lot about these videos and a lot about Star Wars Hot Toys and Hot Toys in general. I have the link to the Facebook group and our Instagram within the video description below. As I've mentioned before, I participate in this Discord social media platform. They have a whole Hot Toys 1/6 scale forum, which is absolutely fabulous. So I have the link to them within the video description below. Definitely, I think it'd be great for you to check them out. For sure. Remember, many of the truths we cling to depend greatly on our own point of view. See you next time.